Scaffolding is an important concept in a pedagogy of questioning. Scaffolding means planning questions in order so that the questions build on each other. These questions must increase in cognitive rigor. But why is scaffolding so important? Why can't we just ask higher level questions, like those at the top of Bloom's taxonomy, and skip lower levels? Follow me through some interesting ideas. During the Industrial and Scientific Revolution, people who sustained serious brain injuries began to survive them. An injury to the left side of the brain seemed to affect language and speaking, while an injury to the right side of the brain might affect visual perception. From these accidents, people inferred that the brain was highly specialized in all its parts. One area was for math, another faces, or another for language. But what if that intuition was wrong? In the 1970s, a scientist named Lord Vernon Mountcastle proposed a different idea. He wondered why the neocortex looked mostly the same all over. The human neocortex is a thin membrane of cells in our skulls about the size of a paper napkin with 6 observable layers. Lord Mountcastle proposed that maybe there was a single common algorithm at work in the human neocortex. If it looks the same all over, maybe it is actually doing the same thing all over. Lord Mountcastle tested his hypothesis on young ferrets by rewiring their optic nerves to different places in the brain. Remarkably, they still began to develop vision. If each part of the neocortex operated on a completely different program, that wouldn't be likely to happen. In 2006, a software developer named Jeff Hawkins wrote a book called On Intelligence. Hawkins proposed that stimuli or information is processed by the neocortex hierarchically. That is, information becomes more abstract as it goes up the layers of the neocortex. Interestingly, the lowest levels of processing have the most number of cortical processing units. As you go up, you see fewer processing units. Counterintuitively, lower level thinking may initially require more work than higher level thinking. Though it may not seem like it, it takes brief moments of time for information to go up all the levels of your neocortex. First you see a tail. Then you see some color. Then you see some paws. Finally, you see a stray cat outside your door meowing. It took time for all that information to go up the levels of your neocortex and become integrated. If you adopt that cat, your brain becomes more efficient and recognizes your cat from amongst all other cats more quickly. But notice how understanding seems to emerge as a result of stimuli being processed by your neocortex over short moments of time. Jeff Hawkins calls his theory hierarchical temporal memory, or HTM. Intelligence, then, seems to appear or manifest as information is processed hierarchically over time. As teachers, this means we must plan and ask questions that become gradually more and more abstract. We can't just ask higher level questions. We also obviously can't just ask lower level questions. Instead, we must plan some questions at every level of thinking. The earliest editions of the APOQ book, called Highly Effective Questioning, describe this hierarchical model in different ways. The triangle of the 3 C's showed how our cognitive functions acted to bridge between the vast world of content. A newer idea is that we should shift our thought process from critical thinking as an outcome or goal and more of a process. Imagine triggering students' cognitive acts as stepping stones across a river of content. For some students, the first few stones may be the toughest. The goal isn't even to reach a particular stone, but to use these stones to reach the destination. In our next animation, we'll talk about why we should premeditate those questions, when we should ask those questions, and why we simply can't be given the questions to ask by someone else.